Hey everybody, welcome back to Epic Maker Studio and FMP Wargamers. My name is John, and this is our second video of the day. I don't think there'll be a third, because I start my new job in about 4 hours. This is kind of exciting, kind of not nerve-wracking, but just like what I'm going to be, the job I'm going to be doing is just, it's really old hat for me. It's just a new environment, but it's the same, it's really the same job I've done before. So not too nervous about that, but just really, I'm really nervous about being on my feet for about 10 hours. I've got back problems, and being on my feet, not ideal, but we're going to get through it because I need to work. I need money, need income, especially with me moving soon. But that's not what you're here for. As the title and the thumbnail talked about, is we're doing Horus Heresy 2.0. Now, before you guys roll your eyes and like, oh, John's going to go on a tirade about Horus Heresy. No, and yes. First, let me apologize. And I don't do this often, but I will do it when I'm in the wrong. I have allowed my interactions with a small percentage of the Horus Heresy community skew my view on Horus Heresy at large and the Horus Heresy community, which I've done that before with the tournament players, and I've since walked that back, realizing that that's a tiny minority. And though the number of bad Horus Heresy players, and that's not because they're just bad at playing the game, there's their behavior on the tabletop and outside, or off the tabletop, inside the, you know what I'm talking about. And I allow that to skew. But now I've encountered a lot more of those people than I have bad tournament players. And I've attended a lot more tournaments than I have Horus Heresy events. And as some of you know, maybe not know, I've been a champion for Forge World back in 2011 when I moved here to Houston, and then once Horus Heresy started rolling out, big flag waving, banner waving, company champion, whatever you want to call me at that time for the Horus Heresy. Loved it. I really wanted it to grow in the Houston area. I wasn't the only one, but I most certainly was in a position as a Games Workshop employee to do some flag waving, and as a, I don't want to say, as somebody called me, and this is totally somebody else, and it's kind of an inside joke amongst people here, at least in the Houston area, that I was the self-proclaimed tournament king of Houston. I ran a lot of events in the Houston area, including some GTs, and worked to help to get everything organized here. So yeah, it's a little pat on the back here, but that's not the point. The point is that I have been and am a fan of the Horus Heresy line of miniatures, their lore, just and largely their game. Like the black books they put out, really gorgeous, even with the few errors that pop up in there. But that's typical of any sort of publication. The scenarios that they put in there, why a lot of Horus Heresy guys don't use those scenarios in their events, is really bewildering to me. Why make up your own fanfic one when you've got these wonderfully well balanced or wonderfully written scenarios that you guys might play at home, but other people likely don't have that chance to? It's like, come on, use it. Anyways, so my criticism as a hobbyist, as a gamer, as a Horus Heresy enthusiast, is the rule set, which they've used the 7.0 rule set. Now, at the time, dude, I was in it to win it. But over time, especially as I was running Warhammer 40,000 tournaments using the 7.0 rule system, I began to realize that it was a bad system. It's convoluted. It was poorly written, and there was lots of loopholes, lots and lots of loopholes. Trust me, as a TO, those of you that remember the 7.0 days, you know what I'm talking about. Now, mind you, the Horus Heresy game is not set up for tournaments. It's more of the casual scenario playing. So that's kind of the background. Now, I am going to continue to be critical. I'm not apologizing for the criticism, just letting a small group of people skew my view of the community. Does that make sense? So what does all this have to do with Horus Heresy 2.0? Now, Well, we're going to get into that. I've talked about Horus Heresy 2.0 number of times over the past year. There was a point in time when I was like, it's not coming, guys. And then, of course, a bunch of stuff came out and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and eat crow on this one. I fully admit I was wrong. Now, what I am going to be staying adamant about is that there's going to be a rule change, and that the entire plastic line, which a lot of people believe, and this is what we'll start off with, is there's a belief that the entire Horus Heresy range is going to be redone in plastic. And I'm going to tell you, from a former employee, from a former customer, somebody that is just doing simple math, it'll be financially devastating for them to do something like that, because they are not going to sell that much plastic to not only cover the cost of the die-cast molds that are required. Those die-cast molds get up to like $80,000 depending on the size and complexity. They're not going to get up to that level because they have to sell, I want to say it was like, essentially it was like 5, it could be 10 times. Right now I'm going to go with 5 times the worth of the die-cast mold to not only cover that cost, but all the other the cost of the plastic, the employee, and the packaging and everything. I think 5 times is right. It could be 10 times, but we're just going to go we're going to go low. We're going to lowball it with a 5 times cost. So it's just, to do the entire line is just not feasible. Now, that's not to say that they won't do it, whereas we're seeing evidence here on Faeit 2.12. Gary has, and this has been floating around, but Gary has kind of got everything kind of compiled here for us. This is the rumored plastic set, and if it's a deep fake, kudos to the people that did this deep fake. I mean, major kudos. But I think it is a plastic set, and I've admitted to this 100%. I think actually looking at the paint job doesn't strike me as a Forge World or Games Workshop, their heavy metal team. I feel like the gents over at either Siege Studios or the Cult of Paint, Henry Steele and them. I think one of them might have been involved in doing the paint job for the set, because some of this screams their style. Now, that's not really important to what we're talking about. So we already know they've got some of the core range available right now. So the core range includes, I think, Mark III, Mark IV, and I think they have Mark V plastic. They have the Tartarus pattern, and I think it's called the Cataphracti, if I remember correctly, pattern, and Terminator armor. We know they got character models, and of course the easy to build Contemptor dreadnoughts. And I think that's it, minus rhinos and land raiders, but those are all modern history versions of those things. Everything else is Forge World, and that's where the burden really comes into play. If you're not aware, Forge World has shrunk its department, right? There's only a few sculptors there, and they're amongst the various projects where they used to have, I want to say it's like 20 some employees working on the Horus Heresy. They're down to maybe a half a dozen. I can't remember the exact number, but I'm going to go with a half a dozen, well below the full staff that they had before, and the resources. Most of those ladies and gents have gone over to the other studios for Games Workshop and are working there on sculpts, or they moved on to bigger and better things, as far as I'm guessing. And if they didn't transition over or stay at Forge World, they've moved on to other things. And kudos. I hope you find success wherever you went. So the departments have shrunk, and financially it's not feasible to take all those hundreds of items over to plastic. It's just it would. I think it would ruin them. I think it would be a loss, especially when you look at recasts, because even if they were to bring over a whole bunch of plastic stuff to from the Horus Heresy range, it's still cheaper to get recast. And I'm not telling you to go out and get recast, but most of the Horus Heresy line right now are recasts. A lot of those people are especially here in Houston. There's actually a couple people that recast their own miniatures for their Horus Heresy army, and I get it. I'm not here to admonish that. So it's cheaper recast versus this. They're just going to lose money. So here's what they're saying, or Faeit 2.0 is kind of compiled. Core range is going to move to plastic, where Forge World will keep stuff like special units, Primarchs, and big kits like Titans and like Mastodons and all those Thunderhawks and such. Special units might be more like some of those very special units like Destroyers and the jet bikes, maybe toss in Fire Raptors. And we've talked about the Great Fire Raptor incident before. The rules, now they're saying the rules are going to be changed in 9th edition. We got other people saying the rules are going to stay in the 7th edition, stay at 7th edition. We're going to cover that here in just a moment. But they want it to be cheaper and more attractive. And that makes sense in regards to rules, just like the old world. So what are we talking about with the rules? Okay, so over on Spikey Bits, and I'll have a link for both these sites. I don't want to read verbatim what they're saying in their articles. I want to make sure they get full credit and they get the click on. So over here they're saying Heresy 2.0 is coming out this year. Kind of makes sense because we don't have a big summer reveal, and usually Games Workshop will. Like last year was Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. Before that, 9th edition Warhammer 40,000. We've had new editions in the past 3 years of Blood Bowl. Well, I'm going to count Underworld, but they always come out with a new season and update the rules. Necromunda and Kill Team. So those all are getting updated rules. And even the Aeronautica game, every time a new box set comes out, they improve the rules or they make adjustments. So we've had, the only thing that's left is Horus Heresy. And we've already seen the plastic starter set that we were just looking at. Whether that's literally a plastic starter set or not, I don't know. I would say yes, but we always got to give that probability that it's possible that it's a fake, but it's not probable. It's probably literally a true thing. I like this version though better. A lot of plastic kits are coming and already have been made, which totally makes sense because if that box set is coming this year, they've already got they're already building up their reserve right now, which they usually do 6 to 9 months prior to a release. That's usually when they start building up the stock levels of that product. How do I know? Former employee, I know these things literally. And we know that approximately 18 months is when they start developing before release. That's when they usually start developing on average, when they start getting the new additions or the new things that are available. So I would say 2019 is probably when they started working on 2020 is when they probably started working on Heresy 2.0, and here we are, roughly. No more black books. I'm gonna push that aside. The black books are amazing. Will they stop doing them? I don't know. That's weird, unless everything is definitely 100% under the Games Workshop banner, and then we'll see kind of like Warzone books instead. So that does make sense in that regards. Rules still say 7th edition, just cleaned up with something new, with some new things in there. This is where I have an issue. 9th edition makes sense. 7th edition doesn't. Like I said before, it's a bad rule system. It's outdated. A lot of loopholes, a lot of confusion on interactions, at least unless they've changed the rules, which they haven't. And a lot of it's a lot of convoluted. Now, if you love 7th edition, I don't know why I'm looking over there. If you love 7th edition Warhammer 40,000 rules, especially when you're playing Horus Heresy, keep on playing, guys. Even if a new rule set comes out and you don't like those rules, if you want to play at home or at the store with somebody else that's in sync or in line with your belief that the current rule set is it, keep on playing. Nobody's telling you to stop. Just don't be surprised if you go to an official event and they are using the new rule set. All right, and expect them to get in line with you. They're not going to. An event is going to run their rule set. They're the ones that are putting it on. They have the right to choose the rule set. Okay. And if you're playing the new rule set and you go to an event where they want to use the old one, well, now you're just gonna have to roll with it, guys. It's the same. It goes both ways. But you're more likely going to find more events, especially when this whole set comes out, especially if it comes out, say, summertime or late fall, that following that, there's going to be a bunch of brand new events popping up, which is going to be great. I think it's a good game system in the sense of the models and the lore and the creativity you get from the participants. The rule set, blah, but everything else about it is fantastic. Now, they put a point on here where it says big focus on heresy again to be in line with Age of Sigmar and 40k. Oh, right before that, they're talking about dreadnoughts with wounds, which is a 8th and 9th edition inclusion. They've gotten rid of the armor values for dreadnoughts and vehicles largely for the wounds option, which I think is much better. Then you don't have to worry about angles and all that kind of stuff like that. Are you side arc? Are you in back arc? Are you in the front? What's going on? Now, the big focus on it being in line with Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000, even though, say, Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 are two separate genres, they're and largely, not largely, they've got different components like psychic systems and magic systems and everything like that. They do have a lot of overlap, not only in miniature size, the bases, how you deploy and everything, but also in a lot of their rules and attacking and wounding and everything like that sync up with each other. Now, they're not the exact same thing, but there's enough similarity there that you can easily transition from one side to the other, especially if you're playing armies like any of the demon armies. If you're playing, say, Nurgle Demon Army in Age of Sigmar, you already have your Warhammer 40,000 army. You might want to get a couple more models, but congratulations, you've got a dual rule system army. Congratulations. And who knows, if Horus Heresy falls in line, they might come up with their own unique system, right? Their own unique system that has a lot of terminology from 7th edition, right? Like, I'm trying to remember, like instant death, I think, or instant kill rule. But now everything is meshed in with the 9th edition core game mechanics, but they're just bringing over all the 7th edition terminology and then put it into a 9th edition format, right? Just looking at Warhammer 40,000, that seems more plausible than going, hey, we're just going to keep this old game system that is a major disconnect from all of our other game systems, which are in sync with each other. So like I said, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000 are in sync with each other rule set wise. You can go back and forth. And then you look at, say, their specialist games, all of them have been going to those special dice systems. Not all of them, but a lot of them, like Warcry, Kill Team, even to an extent Blood Bowl, Necromunda. Those all are starting to have their own, and Underworlds, they all have their own special dice system. They've been pulling away from under the umbrella of Age of Sigmar or Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000 and developing their own, being in sync with each other. So there's enough familiarity that you can go, well, I'm playing Underworlds. They use these special dice, but now I'm going to go over to Warcry because I can just bring my warband over and add a couple more models. And even though it's a different dice system, it's still something I'm familiar with. So that's why Horus Heresy getting in line with Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar, that core mechanics, just bring over the keywords and make it into a new 9th edition format, say for Warhammer 40,000, makes sense versus the old system. Now, does that mean that they're going to drop the 7th edition? No. It doesn't. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. I would say that the probability is low that's going to stay 7th edition. I think they'll get their own rule system. They'll have their own blanket name, but it'll be more in line with Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 current editions versus what 7th edition used to be. Especially from a marketing standpoint, you want to get your customers to transition over from these other systems that basically, I want to say cross-play or cross-platforming, cross-customering. You want them to be able to go, well, I want to play, I really like Warhammer 40,000, but I really like to look at those Horus Heresy models. I don't want to learn a brand new rule system. Oh, look, they've got a brand new rule set 2.0, just to call it that. And it's practically 9th edition. It's got some different keywords and everything, but this is 9th edition. I can play. And then those Horus Heresy players that have been, God bless you guys for sticking with 7th edition and loving it, but maybe you guys have been a little leery of getting into Warhammer 40,000 9th edition. And now you're playing with the new rule set for Horus Heresy, and it's just like 9th edition. So now we get you crossing over into a whole new line of miniatures. Because let's face it, Horus Heresy players are a niche of a niche of a niche, just like tournament players are a niche of a niche. Yeah, 2 niches versus 3 niches. They're the minority of customers. You really are. And I hate to sound like I'm bad-mouthing. I'm not. Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, overall, their products are to sell models. Games come second. I've talked about that. Casual players for the largest game brand, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000, outnumber vastly the tournament players. 100%. And Horus Heresy is a small community. Hard fighting and fantastic and when it comes to doing the scenarios and wonderful, beautiful painted armies, well built, well decorated, well based. Even their display boards always looking fantastic, and in large are a really great casual community. But you are a small fraction. You're like in the small game section. Now you're probably the highest of the specialist game grouping of people, but you're in that specialist game, so it's a lower number. It's nothing saying anything bad about you. It's just this is what I'm saying in regards to them coming out with the entire plastic range. It's just not going to happen, guys. I'm sorry. You're still going to have to do your recast, or you're still going to buy your forge rule, but you will get new models, and that's what's great. You're going to get hopefully a new rule system or revamped, adjusted rule system if it is 7th edition. So I'm really excited for you guys. Like I said, I have been a big fan of the series and the miniatures for a long time, and even for a long time to come. Hell, I still have my Alexis Pollux model that was given to me, and I built them up and painted them, and I love that model so much. So I really hope that we're going to see big and improved things, because I want Horus Heresy to succeed, but it has a limited life shelf if it stays the way it is. And of course, it has limited life shelf because the book series is almost over. And once that ends, there's nothing really after, unless they do the scouring, and they might be able to eke out a few books after that. But after that, I would say, I mean, within 5 years, you're going to see the entire series kind of wane again, because players have waned and from its heyday to now. And so we'll get a nice big surge, and then it's going to kind of disappear again. I just don't know what longevity this series have. And it's going to come down to how Games Workshop readjusts and reimagines Horus Heresy, the game, the books, and how to use a bad term, how to milk or fleece the customers out of more money for years to come. That's going to probably need to be a better animated series than what they've been doing on Warhammer Plus. Maybe even a feature movie or an Amazon Prime series. It's going to require something to grow it, because if not, I would say within 5 years it's going to kind of go down, and then it's going to probably kind of die off in 10 years, maybe. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful day, And see, it wasn't that bad. You guys were thinking, oh, John's just going to go on and off. Before we sign off here, make sure you go over to Spikey Bits and Faeit 2.12. I'll have the links in the description below. I didn't want to cover, I just want to talk in general about Horus Heresy 2.0, why it's going to be, why it could come out, why it couldn't come out. But there's a lot of rule changes, and a lot of these rule changes are really hinting towards 9th edition, mind you. But I want you to be able to go over to those pages, read those articles, because I didn't want to read the articles for you from them, because I want to make sure they get credit and they get the clicks. A lot of good information there. Sometimes Spikey Bits and definitely Faeit 2.12, they get a lot of the information right, and even when it's loose rumors. And usually with these rumors that they start posting, it's relatively solid information. There's just, I would give it about a 75% believability, 25% it's fake or just worded wrong. So we'll see how this pans out. Let me know what you guys think in the description below. Please, or not description, but in the comments below, please leave a comment, a thumbs up, or if you got to put a dislike, fine. But you know what? If you put a dislike, at least let me know why you dislike the video, because I can improve my videos if you tell me why. You guys have yourself a wonderful Friday afternoon, and please, please, please stay warm. Talk to you all later.